program notes. This next piece is entitled Grace. It's by a very good friend of mine, Brian Balmages, who is a composer and lives in the area. Actually became friends with his wife. We entered the county as teachers at the same time, and then over time we developed a great friendship. And so it's especially a great joy to be able to play one of his pieces. This piece he wrote about a year ago, and I heard it in January, and I said, I have to get this piece to Appleton. And it's not even published yet, but he gave it to us, and he actually came in yesterday and worked with these guys on it. As some of you know, I'm a diehard Orioles fan, and part of the Orioles, I think, came in part because, for some reason, actually my mom would probably know whether the love of the Orioles came first or the love of the city came first. But I've always had a special bond with the city of Baltimore, even though I grew up right outside of DC. I mean, like a hop, skip, and a jump away. And we used to go on family vacations, and people, oh, where are you from? And before I would allow my parents to answer, because they always said DC, I jumped in and said Baltimore. Why? I don't know. I've just always loved the city. And so a year ago, this week, I remember sitting in my kitchen watching everything unfold as the city that I loved so dearly was torn apart. And I think for part of it, I was angered, I was in tears, I just didn't know what to do. As I think a lot of us did, including people downtown, and seeing, armored trucks in front of Camden Yards and everywhere. But so Brian talked to these guys yesterday. Usually the inspiration for a piece comes before you write it. In this case, the inspiration came after he wrote it. So I'm going to read you what he writes about it. The word grace has many meanings. To some, it is a way to carry oneself. To others, it is strong religious connotations. Yet to others, it is a type of simple elegance. Regardless of background, I believe this word carries a common theme of peace to those who hear it. In writing this work, I wanted to draw on all backgrounds of the word in hopes that everyone can identify with the music and feel their own personal grace while experiencing the piece. A little background on the timeline of this work, as it is extremely important. The piece was commissioned by the Lincoln County, North Carolina High School Honor Band. Initially, I tried to take the piece in several other directions, but found the music going nowhere. Eventually, I felt drawn to the title Grace and proceeded in that direction. The music flowed, and I was surprised how quickly I was able to complete the work. I delivered it on April 21st, 2015. They had their first rehearsal that evening, and I arrived 2 days later to rehearse the work and ultimately premiere it on April 24th. At the premiere, I gave the above description to the audience, and we had a very powerful premiere. I flew back home to Baltimore on Saturday, April 25th. That night, I watched as my home city was ripped apart by violent protests as a result of the death of Freddie Gray while in police custody. The National Guard was called in, and I witnessed the unthinkable: armored National Guard vehicles patrolling the streets and enforcing curfews. I grew up in this city. I met my wife here, and many of my close friends still live here. I was overcome with emotion as my city seemed to unravel before my eyes. I was scheduled to conduct the Connecticut All-State Band the following weekend. I had sent them my program months ago, but called Monday morning in hopes that I could make a last-minute change. They obliged, and we put Grace in the folder. On Saturday, April 2nd, exactly 1 week after the violent protests began, I conducted the second performance of Grace. It was one of the most emotional performances I have ever conducted, and the group received a standing ovation in the middle of the concert. I will never forget this span of 2 weeks. It reminded me how music really can help to heal.